welcome back to Japan, where we're going to be doing a reaction and review to River by the Wisely Brothers. This is the last one we're checking out as part of our Wisely Brothers weekend, and as always, this is the review video. If you want to see the reaction that I've just done, pause this video, click the little link in the description below, and it'll open up a separate little YouTube player where you can watch the song with me, in case you haven't heard it before, or in case you just wanted to see how I responded when I first heard it a few minutes prior. Otherwise, here comes the review. Are you ready for the review? Because we're going to give you the review anyway. So pause this if you need to watch the reaction. For too late, here comes the review. So, I am out of coffee now, by the way. Sorry, now I'm out of coffee. I saw that through all 4 songs. Yeah, this was really peculiar. This was interesting in that it wasn't what I expected in some ways. I mean, it's kind of one of those things, when a song's called River, you kind of expect something kind of delicate and moving and wistful, flowing like a river, and it did certainly go for that effect. However, when for the first half of the song, I mean, it came in, it was interesting, and then there was a point, I would say, probably coming up to about halfway through, when I was starting to feel a little bit like, okay, this is sleepy, but it was starting to grate on me a little bit, which is surprising now I got to the end of the song and I've enjoyed it so much. But I do remember specifically about halfway through the song, I was like, I'm not sure about this. And I think, because we're always honest on the channel, so before I give you all the compliments about the song, I am going to point out the things that I don't think worked as well, and be honest. I must admit, some of the higher notes, it was sounding like the singer's voice was kind of struggling and breaking in a way that I think is probably characteristically her style, but just kind of, to me, felt a little bit, it was starting to sound a little bit grating. They were kind of going around the same vocal melody a bit. It did remind me at that point of the things that I didn't like so much about, was it Maple Canada? In that it just kind of felt like it was going round, it wasn't really going anywhere. Her voice wasn't really doing the thing that works so well for her. It wasn't really having the expressive quality that I liked so much in some of the other songs. However, it was flowing nicely. See the pun? I didn't even know I was going to do that. It was flowing nicely. But then the second half, really the song came together. In a way that I perhaps wasn't expecting. I didn't, like I say, it had such a nice feeling. That guitar tone, the sort of reverby guitar tone, was really good, and I didn't really want them to do anything that was going to sort of punch the song up too much and make it too big. You know, I didn't want it to crescendo quite in the same way that I wanted Maple Canada to, because Maple Canada felt like it was sort of toing and froing between 2 chords, like it was building up to something. This felt like it was more just flowing and building like a soundscape. I just wanted them to add enough variation to keep that soundscape going without becoming repetitive, and in the second half they did. There was a little bit of build. Like I said, I love the way that the bass sort of slowly, gently increased its presence throughout the song without becoming ever too prominent. It was always there doing something nice. The drum beat as well, sort of nicely just sort of built up in the song, but never became too much. It was all very delicately done. But I thought that it was nice how that changed towards the, well, that didn't change, but how the sort of song changed towards the end. There was a little bit of a nice change to the melody. I just loved the way that it all sort of came round and sort of crescendoed just in a very subtle way, you know, very subtle and mature way. To me, this was a much more effective, sort of delicate, wistful song than I think Maple Canada was. Again, not slagging Maple Canada off. It was a decent song, like I said. It just didn't feel particularly memorable to me. This song I would probably be more likely to come back to. Again, I must admit, their fun songs have more impact on me. And I think that's just because in this kind of genre, in this kind of band sound, which, like I say, the sound that they have as a band, with possible exception to the letter, the sound that they have as a band is one that a lot of bands have in Japan at the moment. So you really have to do something to make yourself stand out. And in some of the songs they do, and admittedly, most of the bands who do this sound do kind of wistful ballads. So the minute you do that, it automatically makes it harder to stand out. But this song to me stood out more than Maple Canada did, because there was this, like I said, there was a subtle maturity. Everything about this song was so subtle, so delicate. You know, like I say, just the lightness of the production, the delicate way in which she played what was quite a nice, interesting sort of, I would call it riff. It was like a picked riff. but you know, it was not something where each note was not sort of played in a sort of sharp way so you could hear them. It was all very subtle. It was played softly, so the notes kind of just felt like a very sort of nice, kind of gentle progress of notes. You know, it felt very sort of gentle in the way that the notes progressed. And there was a little rhythmic elements, but it was all, like I say, all very subtle. So, I found this to be a very sort of mature, gentle, calming, relaxing song. Like I say, I do think that after the first half, it perhaps didn't feel like it was maybe going anywhere, but then it rounded off nicely at the end. I also, like I say, I know some people say women can't do falsetto. Women can do falsetto. She did that little sort of falsetto note at the end, which I thought was interesting. Because, like I say, sometimes I think on these kind of songs, these sort of more slow songs, when she goes for the higher notes, I think that's when it betrays her style, because it sounds like her voice cracks a little bit in a way that, personally, I don't like when that happens in her voice. And her vocal performance has been so good in some of the other songs that just, I heard that a little bit in this and Maple Canada, and I thought these songs don't seem to suit her as a singer as well. But then when she did that little falsetto bit, I was like, maybe you should lean on that more, because she did a really nice, clear, precise falsetto at that bit at the end. I was like, wow, okay, that just suddenly, wow, okay, that was beautiful. I was like, you should have been doing more of that. So it was interesting. I do think that as a singer, her voice seems to suit kind of very expressive songs, but in a more of a full-on personality way. These sort of wistfully expressive songs, I think you hear her voice maybe doesn't quite have the strength for some of them, or at least, strength for the notes that she's writing for herself. Like I said, that might be the style. I know some singers deliberately go for that style where their voice sort of cracks a little bit. It just, to me, it just doesn't quite sound right. But I can let that one slide. I mean, that might just be a matter of opinion, to be honest. So overall, we'll round this off by saying, obviously, after listening to these 4 songs now, they're a really interesting band. Like I kind of alluded to in the very first of these 4 videos, they're not a sound that I would necessarily say is one that I would go towards. If you told me on paper what this band sounds like, I would be like, chances are I'm probably not going to be particularly wowed by it. What has really come forward to me is the personality and the delivery. It reminds me a little bit of like the Peggies times 10. The Peggies are always really good at having sort of expressiveness in their vocals, but this even more so. I mean, the singer's really good at making it clear how the feeling of the song is supposed to be interpreted, making it sound almost like she's talking to you. However, like I say, I think that at the same time she's got a fairly light voice, and it means that certain songs work better for her voice than others. I think the more conversationally, engagingly, those sorts of songs, they're the ones that really seem to suit her, as I say. I think the band do a great job. Obviously, their whole style of playing is very strummy, very relaxed, very light, but they do have an ear for subtlety. The drummer is really good. Some fantastic beats. I mean, the beat in Maple Canada was brilliant. The way that she did that sort of funky verse in the letter. I loved how in the first song we listened to, I forgot the name of it, like Tobira, I think. I loved how in that song she had this whole thing going where she beautifully handled that second verse, sort of reined things back and then brought them forwards again. And in this song, like I say, just a real delicacy, a real subtle touch to it. So, there is some real good elements in there. The bass player is always doing something that just kind of counters the guitar, never just sort of following, always subtly picking where to go in order to make the sound a bit thicker, a bit more interesting. And, like I say, the singer-guitarist, she's a strummer, no doubt, but she's definitely got this real ear for melody. And, like I say, just a fantastically expressive form of performance. This is a band who seem to be really kind of interesting in their own way, do stand out in their own personal way, and like I say, when it works for them, they do seem to be able to really have a creative flair and a creative joy as well, which I think is massively important. If a band enjoys what they do, then it just exudes through in every single way. And I kind of get the feeling when you hear these, again, a lot like the Peggies, you get the feeling that they really enjoy what they do, and it just kind of comes across. So those are my opinions. As always, let me know what you think. Comments are greatly appreciated, as are likes and subscribes and all the YouTubey stuff. Talking of social media, if you want to follow any of our social media and talk to all the many other people who follow this channel and have lots of conversation about Japanese music, feel free to click any of those links in the description below. Big thank you to our patrons. You keep this thing running. As I always say, we're not monetized, so your input financially is a real lifesaver. So until I see any of you guys again, thank you for making it through to this end of this video. Thank you if you've been watching all of the Wisely Brother Weekend videos as well. And so hopefully I'll see you very soon for another one of these in Japan. But until then, for now, ciao ciao.